The US just blocked access to key AI models for an entire country. And that move, well, it's lighting a fire under national AI ambitions, forcing builders everywhere to rethink their entire strategy around who owns the models they rely on. We're also looking at Anthropic's massive $65 billion funding round and Google's latest push into deeply ambient AI features that live right inside your personal data. You've got to know about these shifts if you're building anything serious right now. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host Vikash Sharma, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. Alright, let's dive into this week's high signal items because there's a lot happening that directly impacts how you build. First up, in what feels like a staggering number even in the current AI boom, Anthropic just secured a massive $65 billion Series H funding round. They pulled in this capital at a nearly trillion dollar post money valuation, $965 billion to be exact. This round was led by some big names like Altimeter, Dragoneer, Green Oaks, and Sequoia, with Capital Group, Cotu, and GIC also co leading. The primary goal for these funds, Anthropic says it's for significant compute expansion, furthering their safety and interpretability research, and really scaling up their enterprise tools like Cloud Code and Cowork. Now, why does this matter for us builders? Well, a cash injection of this magnitude means Anthropic has serious resources to accelerate their model quality and infrastructure development. They'll likely push harder and faster on new capabilities for Claude, potentially setting a new pace for the frontier models. But it also means they'll be integrating even deeper into large enterprise workflows, which could increase vendor lock in risk for businesses that are already deeply embedded in their ecosystem. And let's not forget, massive compute spending like this could eventually trickle down and affect pricing pressures for developers across the board, whether you're using Anthropic's APIs or competing models. Are we seeing a new phase of the AI arms race driven purely by capital? Next, Google is pushing hard into ambient intelligence with two new Gemini features, Daily Brief and Live Translate. Gemini. Daily Brief is designed to synthesize all your personal information from Gmail, calendar, tasks, and Drive into one personalized, proactive digest. Imagine your AI telling you what's most important before you even ask. Then there's Gemini Live, which brings real time speech to speech translation, powered by their Gemini 3.5 Flash model, directly integrated into what they're calling AI mode on devices. So, what are the implications for builders here? This proactive, context aware style of assistant demands entirely new patterns for how we think about user control, consent, and transparency. As these AI features get deeply embedded into core productivity tools, the privacy implications around deep data access, especially under regulations like GDPR and CCPA, become paramount. How do you ensure users genuinely understand and consent to an AI sifting through their most sensitive information? And for those building competing productivity tools or services, this tight integration with Google Workspace creates significant pressure. It raises the bar for what users expect from their digital assistants and forces us to consider how our products will interact in an increasingly ambient computing environment. Are we ready for our tools to become truly invisible? Finally, and this is a big one that we'll dive deeper into, India is accelerating its push for AI sovereignty following recent US export controls. Specifically, the suspension of Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models for use in India by the US government has been a major catalyst. In response, Indian policymakers are planning increased funding for India AI Mission 2.0 with a laser focus on developing domestic foundation models and small language models. Industry leaders in India are now openly casting AI sovereignty not just as a long-term goal, but as an urgent necessity. For builders, this is critical. This policy shift is going to open up significant market opportunities for local infrastructure providers, data pipeline companies, and open source tooling within India. It's also forcing builders, not just in India but globally, to design for divergent regulatory regimes and think about model portability right from the start. If your core model can be suddenly switched off in a key market, that's a massive risk. And frankly, this accelerates the adoption of open weight models as a strategic hedge against such geopolitical disruptions. What does it mean when your AI supply chain can be interrupted by a government directive? That's the new reality we are facing. Now, let's zoom in on that last story because I believe India's AI sovereignty push is the most important and interesting development of this batch. What happened is stark. The US government implemented export controls that led to Anthropic suspending its Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models specifically for India. This wasn't a technical glitch, it was a geopolitical move, and India's response has been swift and direct. A commitment to significantly boost funding for its India AI Mission 2.0 with a clear focus on building out indigenous foundation models and smaller purpose built language models. It's a national pivot, and industry leaders there are unequivocal. They see AI sovereignty as an urgent, non negotiable requirement. Why does this matter right now? Because this isn't just a theoretical policy debate anymore. This is a concrete action, a suspension of access to critical technology that has catalyzed immediate and tangible policy responses. For markets like India, it means a rapid acceleration towards self sufficiency in AI. But for all global builders, regardless of where you are, it's a harsh and very public lesson in geopolitical risk. Your primary AI model provider today might not be available to you in a key market tomorrow or next week. This incident forces a fundamental re-evaluation of your AI supply chain, your dependencies, and the very digital infrastructure you're building on. Are your models truly a dependable resource, or are they a potential point of failure if geopolitical winds shift? So, who should really care about this? Well, frankly, if you're building anything with AI, you should. Founders need to immediately start thinking about market access and model availability as core strategic risks. Can your product truly reach and function in every target market if model access can be suddenly restricted by a foreign government? This impacts your growth strategy, your investor relations, and your entire long term vision. Product managers vehicle must integrate multi-model strategies and regional compliance by design into their roadmaps. You can't just pick the best model globally anymore. You have to consider its geopolitical footprint. Is your product architecture flexible enough to swap out foundation models based on regional mandates or international tensions? Infrastructure engineers are facing the immediate challenge of building robust, portable systems that are resilient. This isn't just about cloud provider lock-in anymore, it's about model provider lock-in. It means exploring greater investment in open weight models, local compute capabilities, and data governance solutions that give you control and aren't subject to external controls. And yes, even indie hackers might find burgeoning opportunities here. Think about building tooling for easier model portability, or creating specialized sovereign AI infrastructure that caters to specific regional needs, especially in markets like India where this push is strongest. How would I think about this as a builder? The immediate analogy that comes to mind isn't just about supply chain resilience, it's about digital sovereignty. You wouldn't rely on a single, potentially volatile foreign source for a critical physical component if that source was subject to unpredictable trade restrictions, would you? The same principle now applies directly to your foundation AI models. This incident pushes us towards a multi cloud, or more accurately, a multi model or even sovereign first architecture as a default mindset. Think of it like building a house with interchangeable parts. So, if one supplier cuts off your access to Windows, you can quickly source them from another without redesigning the entire structure. This isn't just about ethical AI or national pride, it's about pragmatic business continuity, market reach, and de risking your core technology stack. My no BS take on this: while sovereign AI can certainly be an overused term in political rhetoric, The underlying reality is concrete and impactful. There will undoubtedly be execution risks despite increased budgets, and fragmentation could raise costs or even slow innovation in the short term. But the practical impact of these US export controls on Anthropic's models is undeniable. This isn't hype, it's a profound wake up call that AI geopolitics is now a first order problem for every builder, forcing a fundamental shift from prioritizing mere convenience to demanding strategic resilience in our AI deployments. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, especially in light of the geopolitical shifts we've just discussed, here it is. Experiment. Stand up a leading open weight model like Llama or Mistral locally and wire it up to a basic chat interface. Wow, Balimo. Oh, here's how to try it in under 60 minutes and really get a feel for what this means for you. First, carve out just an hour this week. Seriously, block it on your calendar. Then look at the latest releases for reputable open weight models. For example, Llama 3 or Mistral. You can often find pre-quantized versions that run surprisingly well even on a decent developer laptop or a small inexpensive cloud instance like a DigitalOcean Droplet or a low-spec AWS EC2 instance. The key is to get something functional fast. Next, find a quick tutorial to get it running. Tools like Olama have made this incredibly straightforward, often just a few command line inputs. Or if you prefer, direct Hugging Face transformers can be wired up with a minimal Python script. Just get it to the point where you can send it a prompt and get a response. Maybe ask it to summarize a paragraph or generate some boilerplate code. Now, the crucial part, compare its performance, latency, and perceived quality against one of your current cloud based model APIs. Take a few typical requests you'd make to, say, OpenAI or Anthropic and run them through your local setup. Pay close attention to how quickly it responds, the latency, and the coherence or utility of its output. Don't forget to consider the hidden compute cost of running it yourself versus the API call cost you're currently paying. Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? This isn't just a fun weekend project or a curiosity. This hands on exercise gives you a tangible understanding of the direct trade offs involved in model portability, potential cost savings, and critically, the independence from a single, potentially geopolitically constrained vendor. It directly informs your contingency planning for those what if scenarios, helping you evaluate if a localized or even partially on device model strategy makes sense for parts of your product. You'll gain a direct visceral feel for what sovereign AI could actually mean for your stack. And that, builders, is knowledge you can't get from reading headlines alone. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.